Welcome, everybody. This is June 21st, 21 days of our Summer Reading Regatta. And tonight we are presenting a special literary event with Jennifer Willcock. We are going to be helping her launch her new book, Face Off. This is super exciting for us. Jennifer is a wonderful member of our family and of our community, and she represents Canada. So we're super, super happy that she's here, and she's going to talk about actually all of her books. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know about two more fun things we're doing again this month, and that is our Sailor Shore School. I don't know if you guys have been following along. If you haven't, this is your opportunity to get in on some really great, fun informational sessions. On June 7th, we had Caroline Topperman. She presented Views, Port, and Starboard Images as Prompts. And if you guys missed this event, because of Caroline, I'm writing a whole nother novel. So it's all her fault. What we did is we wrote to some images that she gave us. We did some real quick on-the-spot flash fiction. We had a blast with it. So thank you, Caroline, for sharing your expertise and your wonder with us on June 7th. We appreciate that. Kate McNeil presented All Hands on Deck June 10th. She taught us about street and launch teams, and this information is so incredibly tightly packed. We had 32 pages of transcript for this event because there's just so much to learn. So you can check that out. On June 15th, D.A. Reed, we know her as Deborah because she's family. She presented You Had Me at the Hook.
Did she freeze or did I?
No, she froze.
Okay, so moving on from Deborah Reed, let's see until Diana catches up real quick. Coming up on June 27th, we do have Andrew Smith, Weapons in Fiction, Shots Across the Bow, which is going to be our first PG-13 shore school event. He's going to be discussing weapons in fiction, and there's going to be a little bit of video with it, and parental guidance is highly suggested. And finally, on June 28th, we've got Brent Seth and myself doing world building in Land Ho. That'll be our final event of the month. Diana, are you with us again?
I am here, absolutely. Okay, so all of these are available live, the last two at least, available live for $5 and $10 for the replay, and both versions include the printed PDF transcript. So I think it's going to be super fun. We're going to have a good time. Thank you, Christopher, for helping me out. As I say, my screens are backwards today, so I panicked. Sorry about that. Okay, so next we're going to dive right in tonight's event. If I can get my screen to, there it is. Jennifer Willcock is here with us tonight. She's written 3 books. Face Off is the new book that we'll be talking about tonight. Exit Stage Right and Whole. Welcome, Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so excited whenever I get to be a part of the brand new introducing an infant book into the world. It's just so much fun for me to help your book get its feet and toddle along into becoming a well-known novel. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here tonight, so thank you.
Thank you. Can you just give us a little bit of backstory on Exit Stage Right and then how that then connects to Face Off? Because I know Whole is a separate entity unto itself, and we're going to talk about that a little bit separately. But if you could give us the setup and the backstory for both Exit Stage Right and Face Off, I would love that.
Okay. So Exit Stage Right and Face Off are 2 books in a series at the moment. And Exit Stage Right is the first book, and it is about, it's basically a retelling of The Prodigal set in the competitive dance world. And so it is about Coco Bradley, who wants to dance, and she lives in a small town and wants to get away from there and get away from her parents and her life there. And so she auditions for a spot at performing arts school. And it's just, how much will you sacrifice for chasing a dream, and how far do you have to go before you're accepted back if you make a lot of mistakes along the way. So it's her journey along that. And in the book, she has a very nasty roommate named Shelby Wright. And so Face Off is a companion book to Exit Stage Right, and the story is about Shelby and how she what her story was. And
that's so cool. I love how you're giving each of them their own time in the spotlight. That's a really cool idea.
Thank you. I copied somebody else, because a lot of people, there are some other authors out there doing the same sort of thing, but I thought it was a neat idea because they're standalone. You don't have to read one to read the other.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So, but it provides, if you've read Exit Stage Right, then Face Off is a little bit more, and it's a richer read if you've read the first book, because you just understand a little bit more about Shelby and where she's coming from.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So since you have the spotlight on two different characters, one in each book, what was the experience of that? Is there one character that you like better than the other? Are there pieces of one character or another that's more you or less you? Tell us about these two characters.
So Coco Bradley is a very competitive dancer, and in that way, like I was a dancer, and in that way, she probably resembles me a little bit, is because I was very competitive within myself. Like I wanted to be the best in the class, and that is Coco. And Coco, but she's a bit of she's a teenager, right? So she has, she's really tired of her parents. She's tired of a small town life and just wants to move on. And Shelby is, Shelby has a lot of baggage that she's carrying around because her mother is a world-class dancer. And so Shelby has issues because that has formed her life so far. And she, in the first book, she takes her and Coco go at it because they are really competitors at the school, and they both are shooting to be the number one belle of the ballet.
Okay. Tell me why you chose characters of this age group rather than adults. Why would you choose young adult teenagers to write about instead of adults, or vice versa? What, perhaps something just draws you to them? Is it easier to write young adult than it is adults? I know Deborah is another one of those writers who writes for both age groups, both listening audiences. So why young adult? Why not adults?
So my books, they are young adult books. They do span into their adulthood. I've taken them over about a decade, or a little bit more than a decade. So they do go into adulthood near the end or halfway through the book. But I intentionally made them young adult books because that's a lot of what I read is young adult. I find it very refreshing. Young adult literature is different in adult literature in the fact that I find it more hopeful. Like, these are kids that are kind of just starting out. The lessons they learn can, if they learn from those lessons, they can have a better life. And I just find it a much more hopeful literature rather than sometimes the adult literature is very full of, baggage and stuff like you just don't always want to get into, because real life is hard enough as it is. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so for me, the young adult world is just a little bit more of an escape, and I just really enjoy that.
Awesome. Well, it certainly comes through on the page.
Thank you.
That you're enjoying what you're writing. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. Would you read a little bit from Face Off for us, please?
Sure.
And then we'll talk some more.
Sure. So I realized I didn't really actually tell you what Face Off was about, so I'm just going to read the back blurb and then I'll set the scene up and read.
That works.
So, okay. She's an elite ballerina. He's an NHL prospect. After years of hard work, their dreams are within reach. Both want to win. Both feel they have much to prove. Is dance a sport? Tristan Kelly doesn't think so, but Shelby Wright is determined to prove him wrong. Sparks fly as Shelby and Tristan face off at an elite sports camp. Skills are tested, scores are ruined or raised, and tempers flare as they canoe, ball handle, and run obstacle courses in a series of athletic challenges. Electricity crackles between them, but romance is out of the question. They have dreams to chase. Distractions are not an option. One summer could raise their game or ruin everything. So I'm gonna pick up at chapter 3. So Shelby has already arrived at camp, and her mother has dropped her off because she's going to be dancing in Australia for the summer and kind of needs a place for Shelby to be. And Shelby is really not very happy because past experience has taught her that the jocks won't take her seriously because she is a dancer. And she's tired of having to prove herself to everybody, including her mother. And so she's registered. It's the first day of camp. And they've had a pep talk by the camp director, Ross, and then she has slipped away in a break. There's a break, and so she slipped away to the beach. So this is chapter 3. A horn blast shattered the quiet of the late afternoon. Birds rose from the treetops, squawking their protests. I totally agree. Shelby rubbed her chest where her heart thundered, taking a breath. In and out. The horn summoned the athletes to their first contest, which the director had mentioned in his little pep talk. You can do this. Sliding off the rock, her bottom numb from its hardness, Shelby trudged back to the main campgrounds. The birds returned to their trees, the horn now silent. Shelby glanced down at her reddening arms, frowning. Need sunscreen. Instead of the basketball court where the campers were to meet, Shelby hurried to her cabin. You're going the wrong way, someone shouted at her. Waving them off, she jogged to her cabin. Yanking the door open, she almost took it off its hinges. Empty. She grabbed her cosmetic bag, zipped it open, and rummaged through it, tossing out mascara, blush, and finally landing on the smooth tin of the spray sunscreen. She doused her arms, neck, and legs, then slapped some on her face before grabbing the baseball cap from her bed. After slamming the door, she ran to the courts. Breathless, Shelby slipped into the midst of the fringe of kids standing on the blacktop. Please don't see me. Everyone appeared focused on one of the camp leaders, who was explaining the drill they were to do. Got it? He asked the group. Got what? The faces of the kids around her didn't give anything away, and her stomach nosedived. She opened her mouth to ask what they were supposed to do, but hearing her name, she shut it. She peeked up from under her lashes at the counselor who had called her out. How do you know her name? It's Shelby, right? I'm reading your name tag correctly? Oh. The guy waved her over. Why don't you come up front and help us demonstrate the exercise? No, no, no. Heat burned her cheeks, her breath catching in her chest as she stumbled forward to the front of the group. She stared at the leader, swallowing the bile that threatened to bring up the lunch she'd had with her mother earlier. I didn't hear the instructions. The leader wasn't much older than herself, but he didn't cut her any slack. Instead, he lifted both hands. It's hard to grasp the instructions when you're not around to hear them. A sheen of sweat broke out over her body, but Shelby met the guy's dark eyes. I needed sunscreen. She lifted her chin ever so slightly. That's what the 10 minutes between Ross's talk and this exercise was for. A bulldog, that's what he is. She didn't blink. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. Still staring her down, he called another name. Tristan, come up and be Miss Wright's opponent. A tall guy emerged from the group, and Shelby tore her eyes away from the counselor, only to wish she could sink into the ground. No, no, no. Auburn hockey guy. He smirked as he brushed past her and took the ball and the long stick the leader handed him. Shelby stared at the tiny ball and long, straight stick he held. Tristan, explain to Ms. Wright the instructions, and then the two of you can give everyone a quick demo. Auburn hockey guy, Tristan, dropped the stick on the ground and proceeded to do a series of bounces with the ball and his feet over the stick, explaining it to her as he demonstrated. It looked like hopscotch with ball handling. Heat flushed through her as she stared at him, incredulous. She hadn't handled a ball since kindergarten. She didn't have the kind of skill Tristan showed off. The footwork, once she figured it out, would be a problem, but she'd be too busy dropping the ball and chasing it to even get to that part. I hate my mother. Tristan finished his instructions and handed her the ball and stick. Shelby stared at them blankly. Do you need to practice? His nostrils flaring, Shelby grabbed the equipment from him, keeping her back to the rest of the group. She dropped the stick to the ground. Wait, Tristan is facing off with you and we'll time it. Fastest time wins. The leader handed another stick and ball to Tristan, who sat up facing Shelby. Shelby took her place, running through what Tristan had demonstrated to the group. She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath in and slowly letting it out. Thankfully, she picked up new choreography quickly, which the footwork was kinda, sorta. The ball posed the problem. She opened her eyes and watched Tristan, copying his starting stance. Knees and elbows bent, leaning slightly forward, the ball held loosely in his hand. I can do this. She met his eyes. The leader blew his whistle. Go. Tristan moved quickly and Shelby followed. She got the first few steps in without dropping the ball, but then she fumbled it, her fingers not quite catching hold. It bounced away from her and she lunged to grab it, but it rolled into the first row of the group. Tristan finished the drill and fist bumped the air. Shelby's shoulders slumped as she reached for the ball from a girl holding it out to her. That was totally unfair to put Tristan against you. The girl, who had bright red hair braided in 2 plaits, shook her head. Her eyes were blue and kind. A warmth spread through Shelby's chest, and she nodded, taking the ball and heading back to her stick. Okay, everybody, grab a stick and time yourselves. Times under 30 seconds will compete against each other. Shelby bent down and grabbed her stick, rising to find Tristan looming over her. She scowled. What? Didn't rub it in enough? Don't take it personally. It's all about winning. You should know that. He eyed her. What sport do you play? You can barely hang on to the ball. Shelby's eyebrows hit her hairline. Rude much? Shelby, Tristan, get to work. The leader waved his hands at them. Tristan's ears reddened. No, I meant you must do something like gymnastics or, yeah, something like gymnastics, Shelby muttered as she stalked across the court, putting as much distance between herself and his arrogance as she could. Setting down the stick, Shelby watched the other kids, memorizing their hand movements. It's like choreography for your hands. The girl who'd given her the ball back walked over and dropped her stick on the ground. She smiled at Shelby. I can help you with the ball handling if you want. You've got the footwork down. I'm Renee, by the way. Shelby smiled. Shelby, and yeah, I could use some help with the ball. Renee grinned and started to show her how to grip the ball so she wouldn't drop it. Shelby smiled to herself, glad for the show of kindness from this girl. From his table at the back of the large room, Tristan watched Shelby and Renee enter the longhouse. His buddies sat around him, joking and shoving each other. Like a male peacock parade, they showed off for the girls in the room. Personally, Tristan hadn't bothered noticing any of them over the years, until now. An elbow shoved into his ribs. He pushed it away, rubbing at the tender spot. What? He growled at Matt. What's got your attention? Matt followed Tristan's gaze to where Shelby stood with Renee at the food station. He slung his arm over Tristan's shoulders and grinned. Or maybe I should say who? Shrugging away from Matt, Tristan muttered, You're imagining things. Am I? Yeah, for one, she totally sucks at ball handling, and 2, she's got a bad attitude. Matt cocked his head, rubbing his chin with his thumb. So you haven't been paying attention. Tristan opened his mouth, then shut it. It's hard not to notice how bad she did in that drill. She couldn't even coordinate bouncing the ball and moving her feet. True, but you seem to know more about her than I do, and I pride myself on knowing the opposite gender as well as my competition. Tristan huffed. Competition? You think she's competition for us? You're kidding. My friend, while you were obviously stuck on her good looks and bad ball handling, I noticed that she was fast on her feet. She had no trouble maneuvering around that stick. I think we do footwork drills and she'll leave us all in the dust. How much would you like to wager? A slow grin spread over Matt's face. You take over my dish duty if I win, and I'll take over yours if you win. I pick the races that count towards the bet to make it fair. Deal. They shook hands. Matt's eyes followed Shelby and Renee as they wandered to their seats. I hope you brought lots of hand lotion, because doing all those dishes causes chapping and redness. We'll see. Tristan picked up his burger and took a huge bite, looking forward to getting out of dish duty, because no way was this girl beating him.
Well done. Very, very nice. This is a super intriguing story. I love the sense of not sibling rivalry that you create here. It feels a lot like my own growing up with my siblings. I didn't really do a lot of competitive team stuff, so this is a lot like what that felt like. Did you draw from your own experiences from your siblings or teammates, or did you just pay attention to the kids around you?
Probably a bit of all three. I have six siblings.
Wow.
Yeah. So five, like there are six girls and one boy. And so, yeah, probably some of that comes from that. And then I have a twin sister, and my twin was a huge athlete. And so we did some sports together, but she was just so good. She made every team she ever tried out for, and I really didn't, because I wasn't really that I didn't have those skills. So I probably took some from watching, different sports with her and how teams work, and then we all played competitive softball. So
Wow, what fun. Harbor Crew, I want to introduce you real quick, and then if you have questions, this is my crew that helps me get through this month. I wouldn't be able to stay sane after 30 days of festivals without them. So I just want to acknowledge them and thank them for being here. Christopher Gare, Brent Seth, Caroline Topperman, Deborah Reed, and Kate McNeil. Also, Andrew Smith is also on our Harbor Crew, but he's on shore leave tonight, so he is not in the room. So Harbor Crew, you just heard this amazing reading from Jennifer. Any questions?
I've got one, actually.
Christopher.
Since this is a second book and it's a standalone thing, when you were writing it, actually the first book, did you know there was going to be a second book, or did that come while you were writing the first book, or when you finished and thought, hey, I've got enough, I got an idea for a second one?
That's a really good question. No, I wrote the first book as one book only. I didn't plan on doing any kind of series. And then after it came out, a few friends started to ask about Shelby. Well, a few friends asked if there was another book coming. And one of my good friends said to me, well, there's someone's story that needs to be told. And I was like, it's Shelby. And she was like, yes. And then after that, I had a few other people say, wow, what about Shelby? Like, are we going to learn more about Shelby? And so that's kind of how it came about. But I had really only planned Exit Stage Right, and then had moved on.
It seems like the best kind of feedback when you have caught their interest and then they want to know more about what may have been a secondary character in there. And then it finally occurs to you, hey, I can do this. And there's an automatic built-in audience for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was a little tricky writing the second book because I hadn't planned it. So I had to kind of make sure that I lined everything up time-wise and whatnot with the first book. So it was a little tricky.
Did you find in writing the second book that you missed some details and through your edit process had to go back and reconnect the dots to the first book? That's always been my concern about writing a series, is I don't want to realign the details incorrectly.
Yeah, that was definitely a concern. I think I tried to make the stories so that they didn't always match, like it's enough of a time frame, because Face Off starts at Shelby 16, and then in Exit Stage Right, she's actually about 17, 18. So it's kind of, and then it jumps to kind of after Exit Stage Right. So it was trying to manipulate the story so that it wasn't quite, I didn't have to match up a lot of details, but I had to match up enough. And I was worried about that so much myself that I really made sure that I was keeping track of that as I wrote it. So I think I got most of it before the editing process.
Awesome. Anybody else? Kate, go ahead.
One of the things I mentioned a few days ago was great young adult, which it sounds like yours is also read by adults. But even so, I remember cutting my teeth on Christopher Pike and being absolutely 100,000% convinced that it was actually Stephen King writing as young adult. Where do you draw the line when it comes to young adult versus, this is getting a little bit too dark or deep for maybe an older audience?
For right now, both these books are fairly lighthearted, and so I've tried to keep, and they do go into adulthood, so I've tried to keep it like clean so that it's not going into more of an adult themed. And so I haven't had a lot of experience writing more darker things, although they do struggle with some of the mental issues around competitive sports and whatnot. But I've tried to deal with it more on a kid level, a teen level, rather than an adult. And I think that kind of, as long as you're keeping that reference in mind and that filter, that it kind of helps me not go too far into the big adult stuff.
Well,
So
but
here's a piggyback.
but at the same time, kudos to you for addressing that, because who are the ones going through any kind of mental stress and those sort of things, especially go with competitive sports, gymnastics, dance, all those. Well, they are. And so kudos to you for addressing those. I think that sometimes there's a little bit of reluctance to address those. And so kudos to you for taking those on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I have a little piggyback off of Kate's question, and that is, how did you create the boundary for the adults in your story? How did you create the boundaries between the kids and the coaches or the teachers, the instructors? Where did you say, okay, this is how we're going to differentiate between these two groups of characters?
I think with the adults that show up in their teen years, I basically drew on my experience with similar people. So the coaches were, kind of modeled after the coaches I had, or like my son, the camp is actually modeled after two camps that my kids went to. And one of them was, my son is into basketball, so it was a leadership camp. And so I modeled some of the camp counselors after what I had seen in that camp. So I've modeled them after more true to life people I had encountered, rather than kind of making them up.
Awesome. Any other questions from the Harbor crew?
I don't know if
Caroline.
this is a question. I'm jumping in. Sorry, Kate. I don't. This is so.
Let her go. Let her go.
But I want to say, for the record, dance is absolutely a sport. It absolutely is a professional sport. But I actually wouldn't, because you mentioned that you danced as well. So I wouldn't mind just sort of hearing what your experiences were like, what you drew on. Because I come from that world too, so I get it.
Sure. I started late to the dance world. Having 7 kids, there just wasn't a lot of money and stuff. So my mom always wanted all of us to play piano. So that's what I started out doing, was playing piano, and was really bad at it. And then I read a book and saw movies about dancing. And it was something that I was like, oh, I really, really want to do that. And so it took a couple of years of convincing my mom, because she was kind of like, ballet, like, what is that, sort of. So I was probably 12 when I started. And so then I kind of took some adult classes and kind of rushed through to get to kind of where my age group was. And so and I took dancing all the way up through university. I didn't take it in university, but I took classes at a private studio while I was in university, and then continued on even after, I was married. I was still taking classes just because I enjoyed it so much. And then I did some choreography within some productions that our church put on. And then I also taught at the community center a few years ago. So it's kind of been a mishmash of experiences. I would have loved to have gone to a performing arts school like Coco did and Shelby did, but that really we didn't have that kind of thing here. So I kind of have written what I would have liked to have done. But dance for me has always been a huge sanctuary, because I suffered from anxiety as a kid quite badly. And so I could go to my dance class and I would forget everything else except for that 1 hour dancing. And so it's for me, it's a very much a healing thing too.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Any other questions from any? Go, Kate.
I am very lucky. Thank you all for allowing me to spend the entire weekend with, I have 5 nieces, and talking to, and they're all like the same age, which is why I don't have kids, but I'm broke every Christmas. But hearing their moms talk about how they are really allowing them to, instead of being like, oh, you have to go do this, you have to go do this, where they're really allowing them to intuitively recognize what they want to do. Oh, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this. Thank you. This is, I really actually want to buy your books and give it as a gift to my nieces, because a couple of them are old enough to read it and will appreciate it. And so thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's
Thank
so
you.
Nice to hear.
Any other questions out there from the Harbor Crew?
Diana, we actually had a question in the room from Luba.
Okay.
Not sure if you have an answer to this, but do you think with all the attention that's been given to competitive sports and dance in recent years, including books like yours, are you seeing any positive changes in these worlds that might contribute to positive mental health?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I definitely am seeing that. Just because the kid, like my son is involved in sports, and the one camp that this is modeled after, it's PGC, which is in both Canada and the US. And so they really strive to teach skills that are not just about the basketball court, but about how you move those skills into real life. So how do you deal with stress? How do you deal with, having a bad game? And then how that all applies to, real life and as you go into adulthood. And I think learning some of those skills really does help kids to strengthen their mental toughness. And because a lot of times with sports and dance, you psych yourself out before anybody else does anything.
I think that's true of any artistic endeavor.
Yeah.
And really any physical endeavor as well.
Yeah, we are our worst enemies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think like coping and learning how to deal with the challenges that come your way really does. It strengthens us mentally, and it gives us that mental toughness we need to kind of continue forward and not let the knocks that come our way set us back. And so I'm definitely seeing that, definitely in the sports world, as young kids are getting trained coming up. And then I think in the dance world, things have opened up, and it is seen much more. It's seen as much as an athletic pursuit as it is an arts form. And in a way, dance is kind of neat that way because it has both elements, right?
Right. Yeah. Caroline and I were just talking about this the other night, that I think standing on your tiptoes is absolutely one of the most grueling physical things you can do. And if that's not expressed as athleticism, I think we have a misdefinition of athleticism, because that standing on your toes thing, I don't know.
I mean, I think they've pretty much established that dancers are some of the greatest athletes there are. And even when I was in high school, I was not a dancer anymore anyway at any point. I played flute, and that was actually what put me through college. They did a lung capacity test, and I had a greater lung capacity than any of the football players in the class, just from, and you would not have necessarily thought that unless you knew, oh, well, just because she's not down there mowing down, giant guys left and right. But at the same time, I would 100%, if somebody asked me, I would say that dancers and ballerinas are some of the greatest athletes there are. And
Absolutely.
People that will disagree with that, I would say, go work out with them.
Yeah, right.
All day.
Caroline, go ahead.
They say that a dancer has, a female dancer has the equivalent amount of strength in her legs to kick through a brick wall. And actually, interestingly enough, at university, a lot of football players and people like that actually have to take dance as part of their curriculum.
Yeah.
And this is just a fun tip to totally take this away from Jennifer. I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead.
I don't want to. I had a ballet teacher, and this was when I was in Toronto dancing, and she was actually from the States. And she taught Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was still doing the whole Mr. Universe thing. She taught him so he could move, you know, when he came out on stage and everything, he could move gracefully. So yeah, it's anyway, those extra little tips for everybody listening.
I
Look
have
at Patrick
friends,
Swayze. Look at Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
Right
well,
there.
I have two friends who are on Broadway right now, and they came up through the chorus lines, and there's a reason why those people are not overweight. They work really hard.
Really hard.
Really hard.
All day long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jennifer, before the time gets away from us, I want you to talk about Whole. I'm going to show the screen again so that everybody can see this. Please tell me you can see this.
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is Whole, and I know that the typeface on it is really tiny, but it says, Hope for the Broken Pastor's Wife. I have not had a chance to read this yet, so I am super interested to hear what this book is about.
So I wrote this book. My husband was a pastor for over 25 years, basically from the time I met him up until 3 years ago. So I didn't ever really feel like I fit that role, that I was a square peg in a round hole, because I'm a huge introvert and people aren't always my thing. And I found the whole role challenging. And at the same time, I was struggling with anxiety and anger. And so what happens, like when we have, it's fight or flight, right? And,
Sure.
I have some good Scottish background grandmothers. And so I get angry and I fight. And so part of my husband, when I had my kids were very small, he was working like pretty much 24/7. And we were at a very large church in Windsor, Ontario, and which is just across the border from Detroit.
It is. It's 30 minutes from my house.
Yes, I spent lots of
The borders are opening up.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was really having a huge struggle with anxiety and anger, and I was afraid that my husband would lose his job because of me and what I was going through. And so part of this book is about that struggle, and he didn't lose his job because of me, and actually they helped me go and get help. But I wanted other pastors' wives who don't fit that old-fashioned role to realize that they're not alone and that we all have struggles. And I just kind of was like, you can be yourself and still follow God and follow the calling that you've been called to. And being in the pastor's family, it is very much a life. It's not just a job. And so I just really wanted other women to know that they weren't alone. They weren't suffering, that they didn't have to suffer alone, that, I saw them and that there was hope, because I was able to come out somewhat the other side especially of the anger and anxiety. And then I just kind of used different biblical women to show that, God empowered women in the Bible as well, and that I could follow that kind of example.
That's awesome. What a great story. There's so little written about the partnership that happens for someone who lives from the pulpit. Now, there is a partnership that happens in the background, and so little is talked about that. So I'm really glad that you wrote this. This sounds like a really interesting read. Deborah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for writing that, because I know growing up in the church my whole life, pastors and pastors' wives do have a lot of expectations put on them. And to the point where I feel like a lot of the pastors' wives that I have met almost don't seem real because they feel like they have to hold themselves in so tightly to meet all of those expectations. And I finally was able to meet a few who were able to, kind of do what you did, show that you can be real, you can be yourself and still follow God and, and that type of thing. But it's not talked about a lot. It really isn't. And just thank you for being willing to do that and make that available.
Absolutely. I think it's a really touching piece, to reach out to people who normally maybe don't have a very loud voice. You know, I've never been a pastor's wife, so I don't know what that would be like, but I can imagine it would be much like being a rock star's wife. You know, your voice is just a little bit smaller than the guy standing on the stage. So I think it's an awesome outreach. Andrew, welcome tonight. Thanks for being able to make it. I'm so thrilled to see your face. Yay! We missed you.
Use bigger bullets.
Yeah, you keep saying that. Harbor Crew, any more questions for Jennifer, especially about Whole?
Kate has one.
Kate has one? Kate has a question? Hi, Kate.
No, Kate never asks questions. What are you talking about? I would just, it's not so much a question as to encourage everybody who is in the room tonight I always tell people, think outside the box. This is obviously not a story. Well, I'm not a pastor's wife. Why would I need this? Why would I need to refer? This is applicable to a lot of people in a lot of roles. And so if you are in a role, even if you don't think it's as much, which I 100% agree with Diana, that a pastor's wife, good Lord, you're up here and there in terms of expectations. But if you are held in a certain box of expectations, consider referring this book to people, because it doesn't have to just be a pastor's wife. Jennifer, did you write it with that in mind, or was this like, oh, I wrote this, but then I realized it applied to other people?
Yeah, I wrote it with the intention of trying to reach out to other pastors' wives, but then I also realized that it's actually for anybody who really feels that they are in a role that they don't feel like they're equipped to be in, and like really, you know, that square peg in that round hole that you just like, oh, whoa. So yeah, I did. I wrote it for pastors' wives, but then it just really is for just about anybody.
Also on a purely superficial level, but anybody who knows me well will not be surprised. I love your scarf.
Oh,
anybody who knows me really well is going to be like, yeah, I'm not surprised she said that. I'm not surprised she went there. It's
better
beautiful.
that you
look
say
wonderful.
it than suppress
Thank
it.
you.
Better that you say it than suppress it. Andrew, sure.
Yeah, I was late, so let's do the whole thing over. No, I'm just kidding.
You're fun. You can watch the replay.
Throw that in there. I mean,
you can watch the replay. So
watch the replay.
Before we wrap things up, I want to ask you this two-part question. First part is, for Exit Stage Right and Face Off, I'm really curious about, okay, more than two questions. So I'm really curious about, first of all, plotter or pantser, which is my standard question to ask authors. And then the second question is, how long did it take you to write these books? And then the third is there another book coming that deals with the same group of characters?
I'm a pantser all the way.
Okay.
I can't plot. I've tried and tried and tried. I just can't. So
Kate and I have a friendly rivalry going on, if you haven't noticed by now.
No, not at all.
She's on Team Pantser. Okay.
So yeah, so a total pantser. It took me Exit Stage Right and Face Off both. I wrote the first rough draft, most of it in NaNoWriMo, so in that month of November, and then finishing the novel, writing it, rewriting it, sending it out to beta readers. Exit Stage Right took about a year and a bit, and Exit Stage Right or Face Off took about 10 months.
Okay. Did you start Face Off in Nano as well?
Yes, I did. I wrote that in 2019, NaNoWriMo 2019. So yeah, so that, yeah, it took about 10 months, and then I sat on it for a little bit because I wasn't sure what I was doing with it. But that took all in all about 10 months to a year. So both took roughly about a year. Whole took me 10 years to write because I had never really written, and I was writing it more as a cathartic for myself, like a car, like to help myself get through certain times. And I had little tiny kids, and so I didn't have a lot of time. So yeah, that took 10 years.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Any more questions from our harbor crew or in the chat tonight? Go, Kate.
Just a comment. Rock on, Emma. Rock on. Rock on.
Go, Emma. Any other questions from anybody? Okay. Jennifer, I just have to ask you, and you don't, of course, have to give us specifics, but where in relationship to Toronto do you live? Just out of, idle curiosity.
So I live in Kitchener, which is about an hour and an hour and a half southwest of Toronto.
So that means if
We
by
live in the
some
same
chance
place.
something should happen next year when some of us come to Canada, you'd be able to join us?
Most definitely.
Or
okay,
us.
Good.
I was saying us, come here, but hey, let's go. Let's go. Everybody get your passport ready to go.
Jennifer, I'm in Waterloo, so we'll have to.
Are you in Waterloo?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were in Toronto.
I'm moving to Toronto in a couple weeks, but I'm in Waterloo right now.
Meet up.
Small world, right?
See, the way this wacky festival connects people is beyond description. It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I'm going to share my screen again and remind you of what Jennifer's books look like. Face Off, Exit Stage Right, and Whole. Look for Jennifer in our Harbor Store catalog, which Brent's going to tell you about in a minute. But there you go. These are great books. I'm so glad that you shared them with us tonight. I feel tremendously honored that you would ask me to facilitate an event like this. I just think it's fantastic. Thank you so very much, Jennifer.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
I found 3 more books to read, so now 3 more inches added to my TBR list.
And then to give us gifts. And again, like, I'm so excited to just like give books and books and books to all of the nieces that, bankrupt me every Christmas. Give them books. Give them books.
I'm that aunt that gives books. Andrew.
Yep.
Yeah, I have your other, and I owe you a review, Jennifer. But I just logged on to look at Face Off, and it says it doesn't ship to this area on Amazon. Is there another outlet, or do I need to go through multiple vendors to find it?
I'm surprised it doesn't ship to you that, but you can try Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Or just message one of us and we can get it to you, like, really.
Yeah, yeah, you can message me and I can mail it.
We'll meet halfway across the bridge.
When I have a writers group come here to the house, you're going to come over and bring me a book, right? Come on, Caroline. Commit.
You know what? Chelsea's right. If you go on to Amazon.ca, you can probably just order it like that.
I'm looking right now.
Like, we have our own Amazon too,
I know you do.
You guys are special. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. I just love that everybody comes out to support our community and to support our authors. I'm just super, super thrilled about that. So thank you very much, everybody. We are gonna give away some stuff, right? Because that's kind of what we do here. Tonight, Jennifer is giving away one of each copy of her books. I have Exit Stage Right, I have Whole, and Face Off you will get direct from Jennifer. The process for redeeming your prizes is still the same, and we'll go through that, but just know that they're going to come from 2 different addresses, just so if you see something that comes from Canada, it's not going to spook you. Okay? That's what that's all about.
It's coming from Canada. It's nothing but love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's very true. That's very, very true. Okay. So let me see if I can. Now, tonight we're having some technical difficulties because, of course, my computer is only intimidated when Andrew is in the room. So the sound is not behaving this evening. So
It
I'm
may
sorry.
come back now.
It could, because you're in the room. Anything's possible. So we're going to spin the wheel 3 times, and we're going to start with exit stage right, then whole, then face off. So here we go. Can you see the wheel at least?
We
Yes.
You
can.
can see it.
Yes.
Okay, I got that half of it right. Okay, here we go. If there's no sound, Andrew, you can sing. Here we go.
I can. Run,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Ooh, that was good.
Hooray! Holly, yes! Yay! You get a copy of Exit Stage Right. Awesome, awesome. Okay, here we go. One more time.
Dun, 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 dun. Ah!
Yay, Mary Beth!
I've got to ask, is it me or is Mary Beth cleaning up this month?
Yeah, good for
Mary
her.
Beth's doing really well this month. Yeah.
Yep.
And just as an aside note, Kate, I think you have to visit a place where there's water more often because you have really high energy tonight. So I think the water is a good thing for you.
Well,
Okay.
we've got Lake McNeil out back, but yeah, no.
Okay, here we go. Last time we're going to spin the wheel for a copy of Face Off.
Dun, 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 dun. Yay!
I think Diana's cleaning up pretty good this month again, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, as
Diana always
deserved.
does well.
As deserved.
All right, awesome. So now you're probably wondering, how do I get books? Well, those of you who have won before, I think, in one festival or another. But we're going to go through the spiel anyway because, it's recorded. So here we go. Brent,
Yes.
take it away.
So if you want a book tonight, you have to email Diana at pagespromotions.com by midnight tonight. I've already put a link in the chat so you don't have to remember that. And if you do not claim your prize by midnight tonight, your prize will be rolled over into another drawing. Just be sure to include your name and mailing address.
Awesome. Yeah, the mailing address is kind of important because I can't ship stuff without that. It's tough to send books through email, at least physical copies. All right, awesome. Coming up next, we have this. Christopher?
Okay, so if you have won a book and you do receive it in the mail, which hopefully you do, let Diana know that you did receive it. You're going to look for a little lottery card inside, and you're going to scratch off the little sailing section there and find out if you are a winner or not a winner. If you are a winner, you are going to be eligible for one of many incredible bonus prizes, a couple of which have been donated by authors who are not even participating this month, but who have donated anyway.
And we appreciate them as we appreciate all of the authors who join us for this wacky imaginational thing I created. See, imaginational, it's a new word, guys. There you go. Okay, then if that's not enough, Caroline, tell them what else they can win.
So this next thing is definitely not imaginationable. This is real, very real, because if you get that winner ticket in your book, you're going to get dressed up in costume and you're going to pull out all the drama in your life and you're going to post the following poem on our Facebook page. Out of my window, looking in the night, I can see the sailboat's flickering light. Starboard shines green and port is glowing red. I can see the sailboats straight ahead. Sailboats, are there treasures in your holds? Many trunks filled with silver and gold. Sailboats, are there captains at your helm, bringing books for readers of our town? And what will happen is we will vote on our favorite 5 videos. Everybody will vote. And then you have a chance to win even more great prizes, our super bonus prizes.
Now, start recording those videos as soon as you can, even before you get the lottery ticket, because we're going to vote on the videos at our Venetian night wrap party on June 30th. So make sure that you post those videos now, because you never know what the possibilities are. If you're wondering how it gets done, check out Andrew's post on our announcements tab on our page, and that's how it gets done. Speaking of Andrew, hey, Andrew.
Yeah. Wow, I came just in time to do this. That's fun. So of all the videos posted, all of them posted, Chelsea, our membership will vote for the ultimate performance, and that person will win an astounding grand prize. We're going to embrace the thrill of fear with a copy of A Slice of Fear by Andrew Allen Smith. That'd be me. Then take it to the next level as you find your way to Barnes & Noble with your 5th gift card for new books, pirate booty, games, fun stuff you can get, exploding kittens. There's all sorts of fun stuff you can get. But you got to eat. You're not done. You can use your $25 American Express gift card for dinner, cool bookmarks, and even more stuff. And nifty eye patch with your pirate costume. What better way to face your fear and move past it with books and your imagination? And just so, if you didn't see, since Kate pointed it out, remember the picture behind it that has the little skeleton holding the head. You know, hey, it's all there.
Oh, no, that's exactly what Diana will do to you if you do not reimburse any tickets or winning copies or anything.
No,
Yeah, it took us a while
nobody
because
would
this
do
is how
that.
this is
no,
this is how Diana keeps us in line. Somebody help quick!
No, that would not be me. I'm not the one who writes that stuff. That would be other people in the crew.
Okay.
It's Andrew who's making us do this stuff. Sorry.
Once again, I got to thank all of our tremendously generous authors for providing prizes. It's so awesome. You guys are the best. Okay. If you haven't already noticed the gloating going on our Facebook page, you will see that Christopher Gare has won our Port Huron to Mackinac race with 70 points. Also, Deborah Reed has won already with 42 points. We're getting there. So the authors win these points by people coming to their events, and they collect points by how many people name them. So if you are going to come to the balance of our months of events, make sure you name people so that they can finish the race. All of the finishers get a finisher's medal. You see right there, super snazzy right there. And then everybody gets to, we're going to spin the wheel of all the finishers, and all the finishers will be randomly drawn through, and there will be one who will get the Captain of the Fleet award, and you can see all the snazzy prizes that is available for that amazing prize. Kate, go ahead.
In fairness, was Christopher steering a cruise ship?
Yes, indeed, he was. Christopher was at the helm of a cruise ship that had dozens of people.
Well, so, God bless Christopher. God bless.
Watch that replay. We had a ton of fun. Check that out.
I was literally the one person that missed it. I missed the entire party. I am literally going to, is it up on YouTube right now?
It is.
Yes.
It is.
I am going to go straight from here to go watch that. And then I'm going to razz and hassle Christopher online, as what you should all do at Christopher's social media in the chat box, Christopher.
Hassle
Christopher, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, in all fairness, Deborah and I finished at the same exact time. We crossed together.
Yes, they did. They did cross together on the same night.
Now, she tried tripping me, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, 30 points difference. I had to try something.
Kate, I don't know what you're sad about. I mean, you only had 3 stories with you in it, so it wasn't that bad. You could.
That's called the power of persuasion, my friend. When your ship is called the SSCIA, you have the power to persuade people to vote for you.
Okay, Chelsea, I just got to, because I saw this in the chat. Chelsea, yes, you've been memorizing it, but you have to put the video on there. So make sure you record yourself and put video of you reciting the silly little poem. Okay, we've got one more thing. We're going to throw it at Brent because Brent's been practicing. So Kate, Brent's going to do this because I promised him he could. So here
that's
we
okay.
go.
My internet can go out at any time, so that's good.
So Brent, can you do this for me, please?
I can, but I haven't actually been practicing, but we've done enough. If you enjoyed tonight's reading or anything you've heard this month, please join the Harbor Store catalog at pagespromotion.com. It contains links to all participating authors, our contact information, and everything you need to catch up with us and check out our books. And Pages Promotion does not claim a penny of royalties from this. Everything goes straight to the authors.
Absolutely. It's my passion in life to support the authors, and I would love it if you would do that as well. Before we leave, again, I want to say thank you very much, Jennifer. This was awesome. I feel like I got to know you a little bit better, and I got to know your work a little bit better. It's very, very cool.
I'm excited about it.
Thank you.
Very cool. So thank you for coming. I'm very glad that you are here with us, and I look forward to more of your writing coming out in the future.
Thank you. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, soon. Shots across the bow, Christopher Gare.
I just really enjoyed the reading. I actually enjoyed you discussing each one of the books in the series and how they came about. I love it because I was somebody who did not intend to write a series either. So I love hearing how other people did or did not intend the same thing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Brent Sass, Shots across the bow, sir.
It just occurs to me that practicing is a lot like reading manuals, and I don't do that either.
Okay, then. Brent doesn't rehearse. We got it. Deborah Reed, Shots across the bow, madame.
They just sound fantastic, and I can't wait to read them all. And yeah, I do love, like Christopher said, like the whole crossover type thing. I've always really liked that, to find out more about different characters and that type of thing. So yeah, I'm very excited to read them all.
Thank you.
Very cool. Kate McNeil, Shots across the bow.
Honestly, I know that people say that things like Harry Potter and that sort of thing are the key to getting younger people to just get back into reading, but just young adult in general is addressing those things, meeting them where they are. So please, please keep writing that, because otherwise you're not going to meet them where they are. They're not going to get into reading if they aren't already. And what I've heard already, I would read myself, and I can't wait to give to my nieces.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Caroline Topperman, Shots across the bow.
Hockey and ballet, you like made my night tonight, so thank you. We totally have to get together for a coffee.
Yes.
Sometime soon.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the reading tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love it when people make friends. Andrew Smith, Shots across the bow, sir.
I'm sorry I missed the start. I'll be watching the replay. I already have one of your books. I will enjoy another. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I encourage everybody, if you don't have a copy, get a copy. Support local authors, support everything, and support reading. I mean, this is great. This is fantastic. Let's read together. This would be, we could do a reading group together like this. We'll just read books all night. Sounds fun. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being wonderful. And I like your haircut. So,
yeah.
And her scarf.
I love storytelling.
And your scarf. Yeah.
Storytelling night is my favorite. Just as an aside, and not as a plug, but just because I'm so excited about it. Did you know LeVar Burton is reading again? And he has a podcast, and he reads stories.
Wait. Do you know he's a contestant for being the new host on Jeopardy? Can we all just vote on that? I don't care. I don't need to see him. Just vote on LeVar Burton, please.
Have you ever met him?
Oh my God, I would die of...
Christopher's met him.
Several times, actually. He is the nicest guy in the world.
He has pictures. Okay, we completely lost Kate. Kate has now melted into the floor. So now, Christopher.
Gotta go.
I'm thinking you have more ammunition, right?
Oh my God! Wait.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight.
Wait. One last thing.
Yeah.
Christopher, I challenge you. The next get together we have, I challenge you to sing the opening to Reading Rainbow.
Oh, Christopher, that means you got a day to prepare. There you go. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We will see you again tomorrow night. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for being a part of our community, and I hope you feel like family.
I do. I've really enjoyed I enjoyed February very much, and then I've enjoyed getting to know everybody again in June, and it was really special to me. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the crazy.
I'll fit right in.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.